Right, so there's a couple things that we need to remember. I saw this block and I was like, what on earth did I want here? But then it all came back. Right. There's a couple things that we need to remember about integers before we start trying to do all of these operations with them. And it's more just things of like general rules for multiplication, for division, what an integer is, etc., etc. So the first thing I just want to remind us of is, what is an integer? So an integer, remember, is all our positive and negative whole numbers. So I always like to have a number line for myself, because it does make life a little bit easier, especially if we're struggling to add or subtract integers. Having a number line in front of you makes it a little bit easier to sort of jump from one value to the next and correctly add or subtract your integers. So all of the numbers that I'm putting on this number line right now are our integers. They are all, maybe if I could count, they are all our positive and negative whole numbers. Integers do not include fractions or decimals, so we don't work with fractions or decimals in the integer number system. It is only positive or negative whole numbers. Right, so that's the first thing that we need to remember. The second thing that we need to remember is that when we are multiplying or dividing with integers, and this is what we spoke about on Monday, excuse me, is what happens to signs when we multiply or divide. So if I've got a positive times a positive, my answer is going to be a positive times a negative, or even a negative times a positive. So as long as there's one of each sign, your answer will always end up being negative. And finally, a negative multiplied by negative is equal to a positive. And these very same rules apply for division. So if I have a positive divided by a positive, I get a positive number. A positive divided by a negative, or again, a negative divided by a positive, I get a negative answer. And finally, a negative divided by a negative, I end up with a positive answer. So we need to remember these rules when I multiply and divide in order to make sure that my answer that I get has the correct sign. And another way to make sure that you are multiplying and dividing correctly is using SNV. So SNV is basically the order in which we can multiply or divide terms to make sure that we're getting the correct answer. S stands for do the signs first. So essentially look at these rules for multiplying and dividing signs and decide what sign your answer should have. Then you will go on to dealing with or multiplying or dividing the numbers. We haven't done algebra yet, but when we eventually do algebra, we will have letters or variables that we will need to deal with. And so that V stands for variables, and we'll deal with that when we get to algebra a little bit more. Okay, so those are some important things to remember about integers. Make it a bit big in case you want to take a screenshot before we carry on. But now we're going to put all of this into practice. Okay. Right, so before I carry on, are there any questions about anything that I've said? Now is the time to raise your hand. And remember, guys, we only raise hands or answer questions when I tell you it's time to do so. Okay, Tamlin, I see your hand is up. You just need to pop up, push the little pop-up to unmute yourself. There we go. Tamlin, do you have a question? You're unmuted.
You can talk now, Tam. Oh, Tam is gone. Okay, so guys, we will also implement, I know Tam is new, it doesn't apply to her, but if you are not new, we implement the 5-second rules. And if we don't notice that you're new, because we can make mistakes, we might just put the 5-second rules to move on to another person, okay? But anyone, take screenshot before Teacher Sam goes on. And guys, I thought about this idea to say, when you know the SNV, you can actually go to your teacher and be like, yo, yeah, ma'am, I got 100% because I use SNV. And then like this, she can ask you, what's SNV? And then you can definitely teach her what's SNV. That's cool, guys. That's why I'm telling you these things.
Exactly. And you guys teach me stuff as well. My grade 9s taught me a new thing that now I use with fractions. So we're all teaching each other in these lessons, which is just so great. All right, guys, so let's have a look at some operations involving integers. So I'm going to do the first one with you, and like Lindsay said, we'll do some together, some by yourselves. Let's do the first one together just so that we can remember what we need to do and how we deal with it. Okay, so first things first is we always need to remember bodmas. The second you start to calculate the value of something or simplify something, bodmas needs to be there in the front of your mind. It has to apply. Okay, so according to bodmas, yes, we start with brackets, but remember that only applies if there's multiple terms inside a bracket. So say, for example, if this bracket said -3 plus 2, then we would simplify that situation first. But because these two brackets have only one number inside of them, we don't need to stress about what's inside the bracket. So what we can move on to is our multiplication and or our division. So in this first term over here, so the first thing before the plus sign, I've got a -2 open bracket -3 close bracket. Now remember, if there's no sign between a number and a bracket, the operation that we're dealing with is a times. And so that's one of my sort of multiplication steps that I need to do first. In my second term, because I've got a fraction, I know that I'm dealing with division. So there is my D and my M of my bodmas that I need to deal with first. So if we look at the multiplication, the -2 times a -3, this is where S and V becomes important. So we start with the signs. If I multiply a negative by a negative, what sign do I get? Well, I know I get a positive sign. Now you don't have to write the positive there, but just remember it's going to be positive. Then we deal with the numbers, 2 times 3. And we know that 2 times 3 is 6. So we know that from this first term of -2 times -3, we have a positive 6. Then I move on to my division. Now in my fraction, I've got a fair bit going on, so I just need to be careful. In the numerator, I actually have -6 times +2, and that is all being divided by -3. So I'm going to deal first with that multiplication, just to simplify what's at the top of my fraction. A positive, or even a negative times a positive, which is what the situation is, will give me a negative. Whoops, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Okay, anyways, it will be a -12, because -6 times +2 gives me a -12, and that's all being divided, sorry guys, don't know why it's jumping, but anyways, by a -3. And now I apply my S and V again. Positive divided by a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So from my second term, I now have a +4. And because I've simplified everything that I'm dealing with here, I can now do my final step of additional subtraction. And we know that 6 plus 4 is 10. So it's very important that we use our bodmas. It's also very important that we use SMV as well as remembering these rules for multiplying signs. Right, so I'll let you take a screenshot there, just in case you want to, and then I'm going to ask you to try the next one by yourselves.
Well done, my people. Y'all are doing great so far. Well done. Remember instructions. No hands. Your hand must be down until Teacher Sam say, everybody's hands goes up. Not like that, but she'll definitely say it, okay?
I wish I had the confidence to say it like that. Alrighty, guys, so you're going to try the next one by yourselves, and then we'll deal with any potential issues that we might have. So what I'm going to do, whoopsie daisies, is I'm going to show you both A and B, just so you can sort of remember the bodmas, remember the S and B, and then try for me this question B. So think about what's happening in your numerator, think about what's happening in your denominator, try and make each the top and the bottom, or the numerator and denominator, a little bit easier for yourself to work with. And then find for me the value of this answer. Remember, for now, I only want your answers in the chat. I will tell you when I'm ready for hands. So for now, just put your answers in the chat and we'll deal with hands in a second once everyone's had a chance to try.
Let's go, my people. Remember to write it on your book first, and then after that, type it on the chat, okay? Because we might be able to do marking. We might just try to correct ourselves. So we can only correct ourselves when we have written it on our book. And another thing, no calculators at this moment, okay? Let's apply our brain a little bit. Let's see. I believe in you guys. You're like geniuses. We'll do it. Definitely will do it.
Try do it without a calculator, just because it does help with your sort of basic math skills to be able to do these things without a calculator. And there will be times when we will ask you to do these calculations, and we will say without using a calculator. So you need to be able to do it without a calculator.
Let's go, my people. So far, I'm seeing the same answers everywhere.
Remember your signs. Liking what I'm seeing so far. Just going to give everyone another minute or so.
I love the really confidence. Well. Yeah, I love the confidence in Alwande. Alwande is like -13/10. Mustru. Y'all know the sign of Mustru. I'm telling you the truth. Did you ask for hands already? Yeah? No? No? Okay. Put hands down, guys. You only say hands down. No hands yet. There we go, my people. Thank you.
Princess, don't worry that you're late. Remember, everything is recorded. You can go and watch the recording.
There we go.
Alrighty, guys.
Amazing. Yeah.
Right. So if you want to raise your hand to give me an answer, now is the time to do it. Rio, do you want to give me the answer here?
Yes, ma'am. It's -13/10.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to put the answer down here so we can do our working out. -13/10. So Rio, what did you start by doing? Like, what was your first step?
I said 5 minus 3 equals 2. Then I said -3 times -2 equals to -6. And I remember I did it all wrong. Apologize.
Okay, no, so
no problem.
Good answer. The answer is perfect. Let's just make sure that we're getting all of our operations right. So guys, remember what we want to start with is our bodmas. So we want to start with all of this multiplication up here. So I'm going to leave the 5 and the minus for a second, and I'm going to start my multiplication. So let's start with getting rid of these two brackets. And remember, the order in which you multiply things doesn't matter. So if you decided to say -3 times -3 first, that's fine. So I'm going to leave the 5 minus 3 here for now, and I'm going to put my answers to this multiplication of -3 times -2 in brackets to remind myself that I still need to multiply by the -3. So a negative times a negative is positive, and 3 times 2 is 6. So I still need to go and multiply the -3 and the 6, but now I know that -2 times -3 is indeed +6. In my denominator, we know that when we've got those two negatives sitting right next to each other, I actually have a plus. So I've got 4 plus 6, which gives me that denominator of 10. And so now I can go and do my second multiplication step in my numerator, which is the -3 times +6. Now we know that a negative times a negative is, sorry guys, a negative times a positive is a negative. And we know that 3 times 6 is 18. So we've got -18 over 10. And then as our final step, or our final part of BODMAS, we go and do the addition and subtraction. And so now I can say 5 minus 18 gives me -13. And guys, this is again where a number line might be very useful. If I'm at 5 and I want to subtract 18, I will not take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I keep going until I've subtracted 18 from my original value. And so if that subtraction part, or if adding or subtracting integers is hard or a little bit challenging, just remember to use a number line. Okay, that is your sort of tool to be able to do these without a calculator. So we needed to follow BODMAS, which meant that we needed to do the multiplication first, and then we can go and simplify the rest. Guys, the corrections are on the screen. So what I'm doing now is the corrections, for lack of a better word. Right, I'm going to explain it one more time, but then I'm not going to take any questions, and I'm not going to re-explain it because I can see that people are still confused. So I'm doing it one more time, but then I'm moving on. So BODMAS. In my numerator, I've got this multiplication that I need to do first according to BODMAS. So I need to say -3 times -3 times -2. Now, if you need to do it separately, so do the -3 times the -3, and then take that answer and multiply it by the -2, but you can also do it all at once. It really doesn't matter. So if we do it step by step, a -3 times a -3, negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 3 is 9. Then I still have to multiply that by -2. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 9 times 2 is 18. So what I have in my numerator is 5 minus 18, and that 18 has come from my multiplication. Then in my denominator, so at the bottom, I've got 4 minus -6. And we know that when we've got those two minus signs sitting right next to each other, I actually have a plus. And so 4 plus 6 is now 10. Then I can go and do my addition and subtraction in my numerator. So 5 minus 18 gives me -13 all over 10. And guys, remember, we always double check to see if we can simplify. In this case, I can't, so we would leave our answer like that. You could write your answer as a mixed number of -1 and 3/10 if you wanted to. I don't like mixed numbers personally, but we will never mark you wrong unless we specifically tell you to write your answer as something. So if you did write it as a mixed number, because I know some people do prefer it, -1 and 3/10 is absolutely fine. Right, so take your screenshots of those two, and then we're going to try a couple more.
Well done, guys. Y'all did really, really well. So guys, every single time, you know, Teacher Sam says, okay, here is an example. Let's do it. We do it, right? We try it on our book, and then we write the answers down. Please don't panic. When you see those answers, it doesn't mean that those answers are right. Until Teacher Sam says, okay, now we are doing correction. And then she will be writing there, right? Because someone will be giving an answer and how did they go with arriving to an answer. So you must be paying attention at that time, not to be like, oh, I don't understand, but we're still doing the answer, you know, for you to understand. Okay, my people, love you lots. Let's focus, okay? Y'all are doing really good so far. Well done.
Okay, I'm giving you 2 more seconds to screenshot. I've also realized that we're already halfway. Time flies. So we had a brain break on Monday that we couldn't quite figure out. And I'm hoping some of you took your screenshots and went to see if you could go and work it out for us. So I'm about to scroll down to that brain break to see if we've got any answers. I'm assuming we've all got screenshots, so I'm leaving it. So this was our brain break. This was our brain break from Monday, and we were struggling a little bit to try and find the answer to our brain break. So at this point, if anyone has the answer, you can raise your hand, or if anyone thinks they have the answer, you can raise your hand, or you're welcome to put it in the chat. So I'll wait a couple seconds. Otherwise, I will go through it now.
What was the? I don't know the answer anymore.
I'm sending
Help the child out. Oh, definitely. Okay, thank you. Got it. Let's go, guys. I now know the answer, even though I have cheated, but now I know the answer.
Didn't cheat. Oh, okay. It seems like no one had time to give it a try. Okay, Wande and Sekhufaso, I do see your answers. Not quite 34. So guys, let us have a look. To be fair, guys, we didn't cheat. I sat and worked it out. But Yolanda only sees it in the lesson, and it's not fair that I have the answer and she doesn't. So I share. We don't cheat.
Now, and all of your answers so far, everything's wrong. And then y'all didn't do our homework. Did you ask anyone? Does anyone? Oh, I think we don't have the time. I wanted to ask them if they did actually go. It's fine. We can continue because we don't have time.
Rach is slightly closer, but still a little bit too big.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so this one was quite hard because of the fact that this very first equation had a plus and then a multiply. So we needed to ask ourselves, what number can I both multiply and add to get 44? So in this case, if I say 10 times 4, I get 40. And then if I take the value of the rainbow, so 4, and I say 40 plus 4, I'm going to get 44. So the two rainbows had to be the same value because they were the same picture. And so those two rainbows are both 4. The two umbrellas are 10. So we just need to be careful. It was 2 umbrellas. So now that I know that one rainbow is 4, I know that 2 rainbows is 8. I don't know why I did such an excessive 8 anyways. And so now in the second step, I know that I've got 2 rain clouds, so exactly the same value, plus 8 must give me 13. So I can start doing some inverse operations. If I say 13 minus 8, I get 22. And so that means for me that the 2 rain clouds must each be 11, because 11 plus 11 is 22, plus 8 gives me that 13. So now I know 1 rain cloud is 11, which means in the next step where I've got 2 rain clouds in this last picture, I've got 22. So now I can go and do my addition here. We can double check that what we've done is correct. We've got 22 plus 11, which is 33. And we know from the double umbrella, 2 umbrellas was 10, so 1 umbrella is 5. And so 5 plus 11 plus 22 gives me 38. And then, because I've got all of my values here, I can go and work out the last product. So 1 umbrella is 5, 1 rain cloud is 11, 2 rainbows we know is 8. So we need to say 5 times 11 times 8. And so as I see all of those lovely answers coming through on the chat, our final answer is 440.
Well done, guys. Yeah, they did really well. I think the first person to find it while you were busy explaining It's Tusokuhle. Well done to you.
Nice.
And well done to the rest of you who have calculated. So well done, guys. Well done.
So guys, when you get ones like this, just because you can pretty much guarantee I'm going to give you another one like this at some point, because I like challenging you every now and then. This first step is the hardest step. Once you get the rest of it, like once you get the first step, everything else you saw, everything else was easy. It's getting that first step. And what it is playing around with numbers a little bit. I needed to get 44. I knew that at the end of the day, whatever I was multiplying, I also needed to add. And so I had to ask myself, what's going to get me to 40 or close to 40 that I can then add to get me 44? And so that's how I knew that 10 times 4 plus the same number 4 would give me 44. Right, but this was a hard one. I'm like not even gonna hide that fact. It was a hard one. I think I even clicked hard on the level for the puzzle. Because like I said, challenges good every now and then, makes your brain work, even if you can't get the final answer straight away. And this is gonna help us eventually when we start solving equations, this way of thinking. So if you're feeling lost, don't worry. This is a brain break. It's not part of the lesson. It's just a fun little math break that we take to take a break from the integers or to take a break from whatever we're doing before we carry on with the maths. All right, so if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means, you're welcome to. Don't stress if you didn't get it. It's absolutely fine. Hopefully now you have some tools to be able to deal with these sorts of ones in future.
Yeah.
But we're going to carry on with our, what are we doing?
Math.
With our integers.
Yeah. Guys, what do you call a group of dudes who love math? Algebra. It depends on how you say it, okay? People will only laugh at how you say it. So you can take a screenshot and do it to your friends and ask them. Okay? Hint, you see, I'm giving you great things here. Just take a screenshot. This is your conversation with your friend next time. There we go. Yeah, I'm that person that just, you know, I'm putting you with the right people. Use this information.
Cheesy
Sorry,
pickup lines, cheesy jokes.
Yeah.
Makes everyone laugh, even if it's just out of pity. Alrighty, guys, let us carry on with some integers. So I'm going to put 2 up this time, so C and D, and I want you to try and do those for me. What I need you to remember is bodmas, and I need you to remember your signs, your numbers. Obviously, we don't have variables at this point, so you can ignore the V. But remember your bodmas and remember your signs when you start to multiply or divide. So I want you to try C and D for me. I want answers only in the chat to start with. Just remember to number your answers C and D so that we know which is which. But give them a try. If you're struggling, look first for where the division or the multiplication is and deal with that before you go on to any addition or subtraction. And again, remember your signs. If we forget the signs, we're going to go wrong. And that then means our whole answer is going to be off.
Yeah, it's going to go it's going to be wrong, guys. Out of 2, let's see what we're going to get, okay? I'm betting like most of you will get 100%. Remember how I calculate 1. C has 50 marks. D has also 50 marks. Let's go. I can see Maseko there already with a C. I'm not saying Maseko's answers is right, guys. We haven't corrected anything yet. So please do not copy. Just calculate on your book. Get an answer for both of them. Right there, C equals to this, D equals to this, so we can see on the chat. Okay, guys, let's do this, my people, my awesome geniuses. Let's see. I see Tabeleng, teacher Stem. Tabeleng is busy focus. Yes, girl, I see you with some nice glasses. I need to get those, by the way, because definitely I don't see all of you. Let's go. Jabulo is also like, yes, ma'am, I'm on this. I'm on this. You're on this, Jabulo. Let's go. Let's go.
Nice, guys.
It's okay, Alwande, whatever you think, Alwande, is good. Just throw it in there and we're going to do correction. Remember, you have to put it on your book first so we can correct. Do it step by step, my people. And that's all that you need. You can never go wrong if you do step by step, okay? I see Sizwe is like, yes, ma'am, I'm listening to you and I will follow. Hey, Sizwe, you are following to the instructions. Let's go. Fiona, I hope you're coping. Sorry, Teacher Sam. Yes, you can say something.
No, keep going. I'm going to give everyone another minute and then we'll have a look at the answers.
Okay, okay.
I'm liking the, I'm liking that you guys are taking notice of what signs you're dealing with. So very nicely done. Remember to label your answers C or D.
Let's go, guys. Let's go. Avela, I haven't seen your answer on the chat. So, Mina, I'm just waiting for Avela to put the answers on the chat. Let's go, Avela. I want to see your answers. Yes, Avela, thank you for putting that, that camera on. I hope that you put an answer there, Avela, on the chat. Sorry, Avela, I'm picking up on you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so if anyone wants to raise their hand to help me with these 2 questions, now is the time.
Oh, let's go.
Violani, do you want to help me with C?
Ma'am, C is 9.
Okay, perfect. So C, excuse me, do you want to explain how you did it? What was your first step?
What?
You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm happy with your answer. I can explain it if you don't want to explain.
Yeah, ma'am, can you please explain it?
Perfect. Okay, so guys, 9 is perfect. Let's see how we got that. So remember I said first identify the multiplication and or division. So your multiplication is happening here because remember if there's nothing in between a bracket and a number or between 2 brackets, we have multiplication. So if we do this step by step, -3 times -2, a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 2 is 6. That we still need to multiply with 4. So guys, we're doing corrections right now in case that wasn't clear. We multiply 6 and 4 and we get 24. So what I have once I've done my multiplication is 5 plus 24, because remember, negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a positive is a positive, divided by 6. So now I need to go and deal with this division. We need to say, we need to say 24 divided by 6, which we know is 4. So we have 5 plus 4. And only then can we deal with the addition and subtraction. So now we can say 5 plus 4 is 9. And so exactly our final answer is 9. Right, Lunolo, do you want to help me with D?
Ma'am, D, it is 5.
Positive or negative?
Ma'am, I did not put the negative or positive, ma'am.
Okay, so do you want to explain it to me or do you want me to explain?
Ma'am, you can explain it.
Okay, right, so guys, let's have a look at how we get our answer here. So again, identify your multiplication or division. Here's all our multiplication. Now remember, there's this random little negative sitting outside my bracket, but we need to remember we do actually have a ghost 1 there. And so what this is actually saying is -1 times -1 times -2. So if I do that step by step, again, we're not going to rush it. -1 times -1 gives me a +1. And then I need to say +1 times -2. +1 times -2, a positive times a negative is a negative. 1 times 2 is 2. So now I've got from that whole sort of multiplication over here, an answer of -2. Plus my fraction of -12 over 4. So now I want to deal with the division step. So I go to my fraction, a negative divided by a positive, we know is a negative. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I've got -3. So I've got -2, -3, which means I can deal with my subtraction as my last step to get -5. So guys, it's really important that we are following our bodmas and we are doing our operations in the correct order. Because if we start missing things or we're missing signs or we're not doing things in the right order, we are going to end up with the wrong answer. And so rather do it step by step, rather do it slowly than trying to rush through everything and making silly mistakes. Right, so I'm going to leave it there in case anyone needs to take a screenshot. While you're doing that, if anyone has any questions they want to ask, now is the time to raise your hand. Ronaldo, I see your hand is still up. If you have a question, you can leave it up, otherwise you can lower it. Okay, so any questions, now's the time. I hope I say your name correctly. Is it Lixa?
There we go, Lixa. Well done. You can communicate, Lixa. You are now unmuted. You can talk to us.
Could I please ask how do I calculate? Could I please watch all of this again when the live is done?
Yes, you can. You're allowed to do so. So you just have to go to the website tomorrow though, not when the live is done, because once we log off, then you will have to wait for tomorrow, and then when you go to this lesson, you will find a recording on it. Okay, on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Nice, Lixa. Well done.
And guys, that's a good reminder. Just remember, you can go and rewatch this lesson within 24 hours. It all gets uploaded onto the website tomorrow, so you can go and get it there or on the app, or Watobe's app. I wonder, I think it should be uploaded by by late afternoon tomorrow.
Yes, because it's 24 hours, definitely around 5-ish, you will find it, or 6, I'm not sure, but I'm sure in the afternoon it should be there. When we're back from school, you'll definitely search it and you'll find it there.
Yeah, I think when you're back from school, if you double check, it should be there. Okay, I'm assuming we've all got our screenshots. So what I want is for us to try one more. I'm just wanting to see which one I want to pick before we just end off. Let us try question C over here. Oy vey. So last one, I want you guys to try question C before you get the quiz link. We do still have 9 minutes. So enough time to give this a try, enough time for you to give me some answers. And only then will we send out the quiz link.
Now is the time to shine, okay? Don't worry about the quiz link. This is the last question of the night. So you better focus, okay? Because we're going to get this one right. You better get this one right. Okay, my people, follow bodmas SNV, like I told you guys. You need to know the meaning of that. Yes, Kono. Yes, Kono. I see you.
Okay, sorry. I see the question. So the question is, how do you know if the negative sign is a negative sign or if it is subtraction sign? So sometimes it's actually both. If, however, it is the first term, so let's say, for example, I gave you -3, -5. the sign goes with the number in front of it. So this is saying -3. If we then look at the 5, it is also saying -5, but because it is following on from the -3, it is also telling me to subtract 5. Now, sometimes, or what we can sort of, how do I put this into words? We can rewrite this as -3 plus -5. And so here, we're saying that this is a -3, and we are going to add a -5. So often a negative sign actually gives us 2 bits of information. It tells us that a value is negative, but it also tells us that we are potentially subtracting a value. So it does 2 jobs, and depending on our expression that we have, we just need to be careful of what it is. But if the negative is in front of a number, it's telling us that the number or the value is negative or is a minus, and it's telling us that we are subtracting it from a value.
Let's go, my people. Let's go. Calculate, okay? Remember that if you have a question at this moment, you can ask on the chat, okay? You are allowed to ask a question on the chat. You are allowed to ask a question on the chat. Don't raise your hand. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Caesar, we are doing C. We are not doing E. We are not doing D. We are focusing on what's on the screen, my people. On the screen, we are doing C. There we go. With yellow color. It's the end of the question. Let's do this right. So I
Okay,
offer to
guys,
say thank you for the explanation. Yeah.
Good. Okay, guys, so hands up. Who would like to give me question C?
Everybody's hands go up. Let's go, guys.
Okay, Awande, do you want to give me C? There should be a pop-up to unmute yourself.
There we go,
There you
Alande. Shine, Olande.
Ma'am, C is 2/3.
Positive or negative?
Negative.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see how we got that answer. So the first thing I want to deal with is my multiplication. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 3 is 6. So we've got -6 minus 8 all over 21. Now again, guys, the confusion between a negative and a subtraction, this is telling us the same thing. This is saying -8, but it's also telling me to subtract 8. Okay, so I wonder, what is -6 minus 8? What is this subtraction up here? Oh, no, okay. So -6 minus another 8 is -14 over 21. So I simplify that numerator for myself. And then I say a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And what is 14 divided by 21? Now, guys, this is where, when we spoke about sort of highest common factors and stuff, this is now where we need to think, what number can divide into both of those? Well, 7 can divide into 14 twice, and 7 can divide into 21 3 times. So that is where I want us getting that -2 over 3. By simplifying our fraction, we get our final simplified answer of -2 over 3. And it's very important that whenever you're dealing with fractions, which we'll talk about in our next course a little bit more, we always simplify our answer. Right, so I'll leave it there to screenshots. Let's just make this a touch smaller so you can see everything. So under way 2, you need to get a -14, because remember, +2 times -3 gives us this -6, and -6 minus another 8, we're still working with a negative value. All right, so